we're going to get started on talking a little bit more about how the epidemic of digital technology is causing us ultimately what we consider dementia. Uh, Digital dementia is a term that came out of the understanding that our poor posture, along with our bad use of technology, and its overstimulation and understimulation have caused many, many problems for us. So we want to talk more about how do we prevent digital dementia? What are the things that we need to understand about how to position ourselves with technology? How do we use technology? How do we set limits? What else do we need to do when we have to use technology? Technology itself is probably inevitable. We're going to have to use it. We could make choices not to some degree, but technology is part of our day-to-day use. Let's use it wisely. Let's use it safely. So let's jump into digital dementia. Digital dementia begins with a problem. The problem ultimately is what we would consider flexor dominant posture. When we sit on a couch, when we sit in the desk or recline a chair, we have the tendency to lean forward. This forward flex posture or forward dominant posture, where we slouch forward, we crunch down, we look down, is an epidemic. So many people end up in positions in which our posture is altered. Altered posture is altered function, and altered function is altered health. So I want you to put together a couple things. Number one, that poor posture equals poor health. If we're sick in our posture, we have sick body. Number two is our structure, as it changes or becomes altered, so does our function. And we're not just talking about our joints, although we'll get into tech neck a little bit again tonight, like we did last month, but I really want to talk about what it's doing to our brains. So number one, what is flexor dominant posture? Flexor dominant posture means that our head is flexed forward, our shoulders are rounded, our back is rounded. What is ideal posture? That means my head is over my shoulders over my hips if I'm sitting. Ideally, if I'm standing, just like the picture of this guy here, the shoulder is over the hips and the hips are over the ankle. I could draw a straight line from his ankle right up his hip, shoulder to his ear. That is ideal posture. Are you aware of how you're standing and sitting? Number one is awareness. So what do you need to do to change your awareness of how you're positioned? So I want you to start to think about even having someone take a picture of the positions you sit in, the positions you work in, the positions you even relax in, because those positions possibly have a flexor dominance to them, meaning that there is an altered position or state of our bodies that's affecting us. Flexor dominant posture is one of the biggest factors right now that I want you to be aware of. The average American is sedentary for 8 hours a day, if you can believe that. This is typically due to occupational requirements, and sometimes this is just due to the fact that we aren't moving enough. We're not being attuned enough to moving our bodies. So ideal posture is our key here. Let's move on. What is digital dementia? Digital dementia refers to a decline in brain function associated with this slouched, sedentary posture in front of a screen. It occurs from a prolonged increase in neural activity of the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is our visual centers. Okay, so when our eyes are sending signals to our brain, they send it right back to the occipital center. So our eyes are being stimulated with many, many things when we're looking at digital avenues of technology. Our eyes are overstimulated. We're overstimulating the back occipital part of our brain due to persistent visual stimulus. The occipital lobe is located back there, and this is where the body is attempting to comprehend what's going on. When you're seated without moving, The occipital lobe, that back lobe, gets overwhelmed with this visual stimulus because we're not moving and it thinks we should be. Our bodies were built to move, as I've said this before. The higher order lobes of the brain, the frontal lobes typically, that process complex thoughts and decision making, learning and movement, are pretty much inactive if all we're doing is staring at a screen. The more there's heightened activity in the back part of our brain and less activity in the front and other movement areas, this is basically the simple definition of digital dementia. It causes an imbalance. It is dysregulated. There's a sensory disassociation, is the term, with the frontal lobe of the brain, which is located in the front for speech and language and reading, social development, and the occipital lobe, which is in the back, which is the visual centers of the brain. Understimulation of the frontal lobe can result in learning deficits and lack of motor output. Dementia itself has many connections to this early decay that we're causing to our brains right now. As we get older, if we're not using the full parts of our brains, this is going to add not only to the potential for digital dementia, but potentially true dementia. Some staggering statistics that I wanted to share. And these statistics were actually probably from when I did a class with the American Posture Institute and became a certified postural neurologist myself back 3 or 4 years ago. This study is 2015. By the age of 6, 44% of kids would rather play a game on technology than read a book or be read to. This was American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association 2015. Elementary age children used on average 7.5 hours a day of entertainment technology. 75% of these children have a TV in their bedrooms. 50% of American homes have the TV on all day. And this was in 2010. At this point, 14 years later, things have shifted to the fact that all of the entertainment we can get is on our phone or on a tablet. So even if you don't have a TV in your room like the old days, which was not a great idea, now you have a tablet or a phone that you can have anywhere, anytime. This continues to disassociate between a frontal lobe and our occipital lobe. Overstimulation of the back weakens the front. There's a balance. Let's talk a little bit about the overuse of technology and its health effect epidemically on people and just their physical bodies. Over 1.8 billion people own smartphones, and I'm sure it's way more now. The average person checks their screen over 150 times a day. Your phone will tell you these statistics if you want to know. Ultimately, the more that we are being attuned to our device, the less we're attuned to those around us, the less we're attuned to ourselves. The disassociation between our brains and our bodies is astronomical, and this is the epidemic. This is why when we get adjusted, you are reconnecting your brain and your body. When we adjust you, we start or hit the reset button between your brain and body. It's kind of like turning that overload that's going on from too much technology and reboot the computer. But you've got to start doing things differently. Number one is holding better posture. Number two is starting to use technology differently. 70%, let me go back to that. 70% of 12-year-olds use a mobile phone, and this increases to close to 90% by the age of 14. Wow. And I have a 12-year-old nephew, I just turned that today. To think that 70% of his friends have phones is, and this was back in 2016, is probably 90% now, is rooting a problem in our society that no one can change unless we start to change the education on the better use and health of that technology is causing. When we talk about forward head posture, there's this picture here of this person. I want to talk about tech neck for just a moment. Tech neck refers to that poor posture that we get when we're using technology or phone and we angle our head forward. As you might remember from our talk last month, and if you weren't on it, when your head is above your shoulder, your spine is in a curved position typically, and it can balance the weight of your head without much work. Your muscles work very little when that head, which is imagine a bowling ball, is right over top of your shoulders. Even an inch of forward displacement of that bowling ball, your head, puts 4 times more pressure on your shoulders and your neck. This causes headaches. This causes neck tension, middle back pain, definitely potential for disc herniations later on in life. So realize that even just a small change of your head position, it puts a significant amount of weight on your body. I like people to remember that if you were to hold 10 pounds in front of you and you held it close to yourself, you could probably hold that for a couple minutes easily without much stress. But if I had you hold it out even a couple inches from your body, your arms would get tired very quick. It's the same thing that's happening to your muscles all day long. So we encourage you, and you've been giving many of exercises in order to try to help improve the head position that's there. Put down your phone and pick up your head. Simple as that. Put down your phone and pick up your head. Could save the epidemic. If you're going to use your cell phone, you must try to attempt to tell yourself you can't use it down here. It must be here. This maintains better posture with your head, and I can guarantee you that you're not going to want to be on your phone very long if you have to hold it outside this long, right? With much better posture. Plus, you'll get stronger shoulders while you're at it. You'll get really strong shoulders holding your phone up like that. What do you need to know about digital dementia? Let's talk about this. Sitting in front of a screen for hours at a time with poor posture is not providing your brain with the complex stimulus that it needs to create neuroplastic changes. What the heck does that mean? Is there plastic in our brain? No. Actually, neuroplasticity means that it's moldable, meaning that your brain, your nervous system, your brain is part of that central nervous system, is moldable. It can change. Your brain wants to change. Your brain craves change. It craves rewards. If we do nothing to move our bodies, to change our posture, and all we're getting is stimulus visually, our brains, they become less moldable. The less we're able to open our minds to change, to adapt to stressors, the more sick we become, and the more likely we are to not be able to do complex tasks, to be able to balance our bodies and our minds in the ways that we were intended. So lack of stimulation means lack of good change and earlier decay of our brains. Decay, ultimately in our bodies everywhere, think about arthritis or even tissue degeneration, our tissues become less pliable and more stiff. Your brain ultimately becomes less pliable and more stiff. You're causing arthritis of your brain the longer you stay in front of a screen without movement, without proper posture, and that starts to decay our bodies and our minds together. What are some of the things that challenge our brain, that keep it moldable? Anything that's different. One great thing is puzzles, reading, writing. These are all very important for brain development. The outside has been stated that one of the best therapies to try to keep a healthy child, to develop a healthy brain and a healthy system, is to just be outside. The proper amount of stimulation visually, auditorily, physically, the sights, sounds, and smells, and just the environment, the light is perfect for our bodies outside. When we start to cone down our stimulus to just a screen, it's overstimulation for our bodies. We were not built to have that kind of stimulation in front of us, especially for a long period of time. Digital dementia, the more that we become, again, disassociated between the front and back parts of our brain, between our visual centers and our cognitive centers of our brain, the more likely we are to see cognitive decline, memory loss, lack of concentration, lack of coordination, ADHD, and even depression and anger. When the primitive centers of the brain have to take over because the higher centers are imbalanced, we're going to see depression and anger increase. We're going to see the body's attempt to get movement, crave movement with attention deficit disorders. We're going to see people who are less balanced. They can't walk as comfortably as they used to. They're going to have a hard time concentrating. Memory will be impaired, and ultimately, ability to think clearly is decayed the more that we spend time in front of a screen. There is nothing wrong with a movie, a game, using your phone, but when the time adds up, when the minutes become hours and the hours, become half of a day, our brains are not getting the stimulation. So there's some things we need to do to try to prevent this from happening in a technology-rich world. That technology-rich world craves for us to be in front of it. Our phones are built to keep us in front of them as long as possible. Social media was built to continue to give you gratification as you scroll down that screen. Every part of technology is built to keep you and your attention longer, because that means they can sell more ads because more people are on those things and spending a longer amount of time. So you have to say, hey, what's better for me? What my phone thinks is good for me, or what I know is truly right? Your body will tell you when it's not in balance. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be angry. You're not going to be able to think. And that's all signs that your body's being overwhelmed. It may be digital dementia. It may be other things, but your body needs to listen to. And these signs are part of the sense that you're not taking care of your body. Let's talk about prevention. Okay, technology in a bad posture, overused, is going to decay your brain faster and cause basically arthritis in your brain, cognitive decline, neurodevelopmental disorders in ways that we've never seen the more we use it. So what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Number one, reduce screen time, obviously. Increase playtime. Get outside. What did I say? Get outside, right? Our daily routine needs to change if we are to change our bodies. When your habits change, your life changes. The reason we do these workshops, the reason we get here and we take our time to sit down and talk to the people who are on here, and we record these and are trying to get more of this information out, is because we know that our patients are being bombarded by stress from every direction of life. And if we don't start to help you change the habits that got you into this office in the first place, we're no better than a pill or a potion or a lotion. You can use the adjustments as much as you want, and that's fine with me. But I would love for you to understand why you need the adjustments. Why is it that our bodies continue to decay and deteriorate in certain ways? It's because we continue to do the same thing over and over, and unfortunately, sometimes we expect different results. That's called insanity. So let's start today to make the attempt to start to change some of our habits. Am I telling you to just revamp everything? Absolutely not. I don't know if you noticed, but I coach other chiropractors to help them with their life and their business. And they might hear something and I say, hey, what do you think about doing this? And they're like, oh man, I'm going to have to revamp it all. And my first thing is just pause the brakes. If you hear me saying something like you're using your phone too much, you're on technology too much, and you're going to just really destroy yourself, that may be true. And you cannot change anything overnight. It takes habits and it takes consistency. So what I want people to do is say, what are we doing well? Well, you're making it here to get adjustments. That's number one. You're listening to your body a little bit better. The next step may say, what is it something that I do regularly every day, or maybe multiple times a day, that needs a change? That's what I want to know. What are some of the things you're doing well that you can keep doing more of? Sometimes you can say there's lots of good things to do. We're going to go over that. But maybe it's as easy to say, what are the couple of things I need to improve? I think we need to set timers on our technology. We need to make sure that we set a timer when we go to sit down and veg out on the couch at night, maybe, We need to have a timer go off that says it's been 15 minutes, it's been a half hour, it's been 5 minutes. So reducing that screen time is very important. We need to play. Our bodies crave recreation. And we're going to talk about this as one of the essential laws of our bodies. We need play. Some people might say, well, hey, I play on my phone. I love my phone. I get to play on it. But you're not playing in the sense that you're moving your body at all. And it's really not probably stimulating your brain. And when that happens too often for too long, our brains are suffering. And maybe our relationships suffer. Maybe our work suffers. But we all suffer when we're not following the laws of our body. This, playtime isn't for kids either. I'm talking about adults too, because many of this can think about our kids need to make some changes, but so do we as adults. We crave movement and stimulation. Balance, challenging your vestibular system is amazing. So get outside and play. Play is so important. When we stop playing, we stop growing. Better posture is a smarter brain. Studies have proven this over and over again. And when we change our posture, we change our hormones and we change our brain's reaction to stressors. Did you know that the signal from my brain to, let's say, my fingertips right now can fire at a certain speed with me in good posture? In poor posture, that slows down. How important is that? Well, I'd love my surgeon to have really good posture, obviously. I would love it that someone's driving at a wheel, maybe driving my kids on a bus, has better coordination and better posture because I need those things to work. We all can improve. The speed at which our brains send signals is dependent upon our posture. So let's improve our posture and get a smarter brain. I'm going to go back to this too. Research demonstrates that people who engage in regular exercise, who have proper posture, have decreased cortisol. That's the stress hormone that ultimately causes increased inflammation in our body and delayed ability to handle stressors. Increased weight is also another sign of increased cortisol. So if you decrease cortisol, you potentially start to lose weight. You're less stressed and your hormones are more balanced. So realize that improving your posture, exercising regularly, can really make big changes in your health and your longevity. It's not enough just to sit good and read all day. We need better output for our brains. That's what movement's all about. So remember, movement is life. Kind of want to leave you with this right here. Posture affects everything. From breathing to thinking, from hormone production to digestion is affected by your posture. The regulation of our bodies is so focused on better communication that if we try to change our posture, everything suffers. So remember, every moment you have a chance to make a choice of what position you're in. We don't want you to have to consciously worry about it all the time. So start to make those changes to your habits. Set reminders that remind you to get up every so often, to change positions. Put little stickers or sticky notes around so that remind you to sit up. Phone down, head up. Start to make habits change by making it easy for you to make the next change. And you start to make little changes, makes a big result in the end. If my patients were to follow half of the things that we talk about on a regular basis, their health and their longevity and their vitality would be so much greater than most people we see as they age. So start to make changes, small ones, easy ones. Start to prevent overuse of technology because it does affect our bodies.